we could actually make thought more real than anything else. Now, what is that? You're saying, what would it be like to be wealthy? What would it be like to be abundant? What would it be like to have all my needs met? What would it be like to have more than I need?
Hello and welcome to the Pacific Channel, where we talk about the law of attraction, how to manifest anything you want, meditation, and more. I'm your host, Steve Doherty, and here is my kitty cat, Zara. Zara, say hello to the audience. I've been ignoring her a lot lately, just today, because I've been really busy with things, and so she's a little mad at me. Just gonna put her over there for a second. Anyways, I wasn't going to do this video today because I had a really bad day, and I literally was going to contact people at the Pacific Channel and say, sorry guys, I just can't do it today. It's been a really rough day. But I thought maybe what I would do instead is discuss what happened and then try to connect it with the message from Dr. Joe today and see if we can get something from it. Basically what happened to me was I was getting ready to go to a trip to Death Valley with my brother and his girlfriend. He lives in Los Angeles in California, and I live in Vegas. So I just bought a new motorcycle, and as I was excited to go on the trip, but it was a little bit too soon, right? I couldn't get my brother to change the date. He wanted to go this coming weekend, and he literally asked me like a week and a half ago. But my motorcycle wasn't really ready, and one of the problems is that I have very big feet. I wear a size 15, and my foot, I couldn't shift the shift lever with my new motocross boots. I could with regular boots. Anyways, it was kind of dangerous, right? So I basically had to figure out a way to extend the shift lever. So the only way to do it was, I know I probably shouldn't be going into this kind of detail about this, but here's the old one, here's the new one. See how this one, if the lever was here, it makes this longer, right? And so that's what I was trying to do today. So what I did was I got to my motorcycle. I had 3 things to do. I wanted to change the windscreen or the windshield. The shift tip wasn't put on with a normal clip that the new one came with. The new one came with these nice little clips to put the pin on. It came with a rivet, so it was riveted on. So the only way to get it off was to drill through the darn thing. And I didn't have a very good drill kit, and I spent so much time trying to drill that thing. I was drilling, and I'm sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, this is never going to even happen. I was getting frustrated, and I was getting upset, and it finally went through, and I was like, oh, yes. But then I went and I tried to put this new shift lever tip on, and it's too small by just a hair, right? So the shift lever was like this big and it wouldn't go on, right? And I was so frustrated, and I had to call it quits. And I spent like 4 hours working on my motorcycle this morning. Anyways, so feeling very disappointed, I had to cancel my trip with my brother. And of course he was not upset. He was disappointed, and so was I. But anyways, I almost didn't make this video because I was in a pretty bad mood. So what's the point of me bringing all of this up? It's possible that it's actually very possible that it was a pretty bad idea for me to go on this trip in the first place, and I wasn't ready for it. It's possible that the problems that occurred today happened to help me to avoid something much worse and even perhaps dangerous or deadly. It's possible that my inner being guided me out of a bad situation. The other thing that happened was that I had bought a windscreen for my motorcycle, but it too didn't fit. So although I'm still disappointed, it's more likely than not that I wasn't ready to ride that long and that far on the freeway on my dual sport dirt motorcycle, and I just avoided a very bad experience. In this audio clip, Dr. Joe talks about how If you want to create the reality that you want, you need to ask yourself how much of the time in your awakened state are you stuck in the physical 3D reality, or how much of the time are you aware of energy, frequency, and the quantum field? In my case today, I was very deep into the 3D world, the physical reality, trying to force something that probably wasn't meant to be. So in my case, I'm doing my best to look at the bright side of things and let go of all of my negative feelings about going on this little trip. One of the things that Dr. Joe says all the time is that the way to manifest what you want is with a coherent brain and a coherent heart. My brain and heart were way out of coherence today. But when you meditate, when you expand your focus to everything outside of who you are, from a place of being nobody, no career, no identity, and nothing material and nothing physical, that's when you put yourself in a place of creative power. That's where creation starts. So that's why I'm looking forward to my next meditation tomorrow morning. I want to let go of what happened today and start anew, start afresh. Start fresh. Let's listen to Dr. Joe discuss how to create in more detail now.
Would this be in our mind's consciousness, or would this be in a different space?
Okay, let's look at that. So the answer to the question is, how much of your waking day do you put your attention on matter, on the material world, and how much of your waking day are you aware of energy and frequency? For most people, they're unaware of the quantum field, and if you're unaware of it, it doesn't exist for you. Right. Just like you have a nose, but if you're unaware of it, it doesn't exist for you. The moment you become aware of it, it exists. Well, the quantum field, you can study all kinds of science, and they'll tell you there is this invisible field of frequency and energy that exists beyond the senses that tend to connect everything physical and material. In fact, everything physical and material is connected to this field, okay? So how do you get there? Right? How do you get there? So we discovered that when you take all of your attention off your body and you are not paying attention to your emotions, your drives, your habits, if you could take all of your attention off of every element in your environment, your cell phone, your tablet, your computer, your car, your whatever it is, your bed, take your attention away from everything, every place that you live, where you sleep, where you work, and you're not thinking about time. You're not thinking about your schedule, where you need to be, or what happened yesterday. You can relax into the present moment. There tends to be a dramatic change in the way the brain functions when people do this properly. We call it getting beyond yourself, but in a sense, you're dissociating from your three-dimensional reality. Why? Because if you're thinking about anything in your three-dimensional reality, that's where your attention is and that's where your energy is, okay? So we kind of figured out this formula when people really become nobody, no one, no thing, nowhere, and no time. They're pretty much all of a sudden outside the constraints of the Newtonian world of got to do something to get an outcome. And if you can teach people how to linger there without a name, without a face, without a profession, without a family, without a culture, without a past, without a disease, you teach them how to be in this place we call the unknown, right? And you teach them that from that place, that invisible field, is where everything material comes from. And if they could create coherence in their brain, you need a strong signal in the brain. The more coherent the brain, the more stronger the signal.
What do you mean a strong signal?
Okay, let's see how I could say this. When most people, when we look at brains in real time, and we're looking at people's how their mind is working. When you're under stress, okay, stress is created by not being able to predict something that's going to happen in your life, the perception that something's going to get worse or you can't control something, right? So when that occurs, we switch on that primitive nervous system called the fight or flight nervous system, and the brain goes into this very alarmed state called high beta. That means pay attention to the outer world. There's danger out there. But if it's not a predator and it's traffic or your coworker or your ex,
right,
this is where it gets to be a problem because it becomes very maladaptive, right? So when we're in that state and the brain is in that aroused state, we try to control and predict everything. So every person, every object, everything, every place, even your body has a neurological network in your brain, right? So as the arousal happens, we start shifting our attention to all these elements, and like a lightning storm in the clouds, the brain starts firing very, very incoherently. And when the brain's incoherent, we're incoherent. It's just
that's not a strong signal.
It's a static on the wire. That's disconnection. There is no signal.
Right.
So when we're in that state, we're always really looking for the worst case scenario of what's going to happen, because if you prepare for the worst, anything less happens, a better chance of survival, right? So in this kind of aroused state, as we shift our attention to each one of these elements that are known in our environment, the brain starts compartmentalizing and firing out of order, and that is what creates what's called autonomic dysregulation. That causes the brain and body to get really out of balance, right? So in that state, we're over-focused. You know, when you're stressed, you're over-focused on something. You can't stop thinking about it. Our research shows that when you do that, you actually make your brain worse, because you're analyzing your problems within some disturbing emotion, and that emotion is driving you further out of balance. You're actually knocking your brain and body out of balance by thought alone, and you're driving it into these more aroused states.
For someone that's been living like that for decades, that's their base state. How do they even realize how to get out of that?
They don't. Usually it takes crisis, right? It takes trauma.
Extreme breakdown.
Yeah, breakdown.
A loss, a death,
all of that.
Breakup, a divorce, a near
bankruptcy, whatever it is, a disease, a diagnosis, whatever, something where you just can't go on business as usual. Now it's time to really start looking.
They have to wake up then.
Yeah. So let's get back to the concept of abundance here, because
you need a strong signal in this field.
Right. So then, if you can teach people to do the exact opposite, go from putting all of their attention on everything physical and material in the world of separation, and instead of narrowing their focus on something material, ask them to broaden their focus and put it on nothing. Now, I know that sounds kind of crazy, but when you put your attention on space and you divert your attention, the act of sensing without thinking actually starts to slow the brainwaves down. Not only slow it down, but all of a sudden cause the brain to start reintegrating, starts to synchronize, right? And so you see different compartments of the brain that were firing out of order start to resonate. They start to communicate. They're all of a sudden synchronizing, and what syncs in the brain kind of links in the brain. So when a person has their whole entire brain firing in rhythm, that's a very strong signal that you can send out into the field.
So when that signal is strong in that position, what can you create from that space?
Okay, but that's only one element.
Okay.
So then the clear intention tends to be a very important element that we have to get down. And the more coherent the brain, the more clear the signal for that intention. So with intention and attention, we could actually make thought more real than anything else. Now, what is that? You're saying, what would it be like to be wealthy? What would it be like to be abundant? What would it be like to have all my needs met? What would it be like to have more than I need? What would I do if I had everything I ever wanted? The answer always is the same. You start giving stuff away. Because if an abundant person is truly abundant, why would they hold on? They would say, I'm not in lack. There's more for everybody, okay? Turns out, though, that the signal sent out isn't enough. You have to draw the experience back to you. And so
send the signal out to,
it's coherent brain,
financial freedom,
whatever
abundance, all these different things.
Right. Whatever that is for you. Whatever that is for you.
Putting that out there with your signal, with the intention and the attention.
Right.
And then how do you draw it to you? So in the physical world,
in the physical world, you got to go get it. You got to do something. This is the plane of demonstration. You got to go get it, and when you're in lack until it occurs, right?
But I'm hearing you say there's a way to not chase but attract.
All right, so if you're creating from the field instead of from matter, right, there's a very strong possibility that you'll shorten the distance between the thought of what you want and the experience of having it. And when there's a vibrational match between your energy and that future that you want to experience, now if you're creating from the field, you actually don't go anywhere to get it. You actually draw it to you. So here comes the synchronicities, the serendipities, the coincidences, the opportunities, and they come out of nowhere. And you say, I don't understand. I didn't do anything. Well, you changed your energy. And so then the other element is a coherent heart, right? And the heart has a magnetic signature. And the magnetic signature is what draws reality to us, right? So you combine that clear intention with a coherent brain. Now here's the key. This takes practice.
Yes.
Because the person who's living in lack is usually unworthy, is usually insecure, is usually in their past, they're usually frustrated, they're usually impatient, they're usually resentful because nothing's changing out there because it's taking too long. Well, everything takes a lot of time when you do matter to matter, right? So then if you teach them, okay, we know all about that. We know the story behind that. We know what your parents told you about money, all that other. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But now let's do something that would be really cool. Let's write down the feelings of how you would feel if that future happened, and you're going to have to feel that feeling before it occurs. So now, okay, what does an abundant person feel? Pretty much free, a lot of freedom.
Peace, excited, joyful.
In love with life, grateful to be alive, abundant. Okay, now let's practice feeling those. Turns out when you're feeling those other emotions like resentment and impatience and frustration, you're stepping on the gas pedal, you're turning on the sympathetic nervous system, and you're stepping on the brake. At the same time, which is you're angry, you're frustrated, but the fight or flight nervous system says run, fight, or hide, and you're sitting in a Zoom meeting and your neck is pulsating is because the heart is beating against the closed system, right? You're not using it in an adaptive way. So the heart starts firing out of order. It starts firing incoherently, and incoherent waves cancel each other out. It's called destructive interference, and then we stop trusting our future. Energy leaves the heart. Energy leaves the brain, energy leaves the heart, and you can't get in touch with the feeling of your future because in survival, which those are hormones of stress, all those emotions, in survival it's not a time to create, right? It's time to run, fight, and hide. Okay, so we gotta lay down the very thing we used our whole life to get what we want. The habit of doing it that way for something greater to occur. Okay.
So in my case today, upon reflection, I was trying to pound physical reality into place with way too much 3D effort. My brother asked if I wanted to go on this trip just 2 weeks ago, and I've only had my motorcycle a couple months and I wasn't ready. I tried to get him to move it to a later date, but he wouldn't. So my point is that my gut instinct or inner being told me early on that I wasn't ready, but I didn't listen to it. I should have declined from the very beginning and saved myself a lot of grief because I knew that 2 weeks to get my motorcycle ready wasn't enough time for me. Instead of trying to pound my physical reality into place, I should have just let this trip go and enjoy the process of testing out my new equipment on my motorcycle at a more comfortable pace. Like Dr. Joe said, it is never a good idea to allow yourself to get into high beta mode like I was, that stressed out fight or flight mode. When you do, you make mistakes, you aren't in the flow of life, and things just get more and more stressful. Honestly, after writing about what happened to me today and rethinking everything, I'm feeling better, and I actually am thankful that it didn't work out. But next time, I plan on following my gut instinct more and not let anything influence me otherwise. When you are stressed out for any reason, it's not the time to create anything. It's time to slow down and meditate. It's time to let go and allow. It's time to go take a nap. Naps are very helpful. That's the time to say no when others want you to say yes. And that's what Dr. Joe is saying. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share it. Share it with a friend or relative who also may have had a bad day. Help them to see that bad days may be the universe's way of keeping you from having a much worse day. Let us know in the comments below if you know of a time when something went wrong for you that actually kept you from danger or an even worse day. We need to learn to bless the contrast and appreciate it for what it is as both an opportunity to clarify what it is that you want. In my case, what I want is to take my time in building my motorcycle without pressure and perhaps to protect you from danger. Thanks for watching, and now have a great day or night.
Christmas is coming, and we would love to give back to our Pacific family. We are offering 2 lucky winners a ticket to Dr. Joe Dispenza's week-long retreat in Cartagena, Colombia, Co., worth $2,300 each. To enter the giveaway, you must be a subscriber to our channel Pacific. Like this video, comment your manifestation goals for the year 2023, share this video with any 5 people, and stay tuned on our channel as we will declare the winner soon. Please refer to the description below for more info. Good luck!